Hello everyone.
Hello, hello.
I'm Tony.
And I'm Tally.
And we are the Lazy Book Lovers. This is a podcast for book lovers who procrastinate about reading and have never-ending to-be-read piles. Mm-hmm. Today's episode is going over our buddy read. This was our July to August buddy read. So what we are doing throughout this year, we do a buddy read that goes over 2 months to give you plenty of time to read it. We read along on Storygraph, but obviously you can catch up with us in other ways if you wanted to. So every 2 months we pick a new book. So our new book is currently out. It's Pumpkin, Spice and Poltergeist by Ali K. Mulford and K.Elle. Oh, the surname keeps jumping from
I've
me.
I've literally got it right here on my tablet. Hang on. K.Elle Morrison.
I nearly got it.
So close.
Because I did the social post where I tagged them. So yeah, if you want to double check that, it's on our socials. It's linked in the description wherever you're listening if you want to join our next one. But this is about the one we just did. My Boss is the Devil by Ben Schenkman. That was a lot of names and things I just remembered without looking at a single thing.
Yeah, I'm
impressed.
That was you definitely using your brain. Yeah, so this was one of the 300 entries that got selected for the Spiffbo competition this year. So I picked out a few that I wanted to read.
For those who don't know, what's Spiffbo?
Spiff, self-published fantasy blog off, and it's the 10th one this year.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a spin-off, sci-fi one. Yeah, just do the and there is one just starting, so they are actually at the time of when you're listening to this,
so first week of September roughly. Well, actually we're into our second week, 10th.
When you're listening to this, when will this come out though?
Oh, I'm saying when we're recording.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
At the time of when you listen to this, I think the thing's open for you to enter, but there's going to be a historical fiction version as well. I'm actually a judge on it.
Oh yeah, I've been seeing something about that on your Instagram.
Basically, it's this one in particular is fantasy adjacent, speculative. As long as it's self-published or was self-published when you enter the competition, you can enter. 300 people get picked at random. They go through it, etc., whittles it down to one winner. And a lot of the previous winners have since been traditionally published, so it is a great thing to do. Yeah, this was one of them that was in it, and I thought it'd be a fun read, so I put it forward as one of the options. And you picked it, I think, just based on the title.
I did read the blurbs.
Oh, okay.
But the title definitely won me over.
Yeah, that's definitely what won me over.
Yeah.
Now, I will admit, the title made me think this is going to be more fun hijinks.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be funnier.
And it was very serious.
Yeah.
And I was like, I literally made a comment at 58%. Not the funny hijinks book I was expecting.
Yeah. If you guys want to sort of chat with us about books, we do have a Facebook group and also a Ko-fi subscription link. It's kind of like Patreon, but what it does, it's just a small subscription if you want to contribute financially and support us. You don't have to, but if you wanted to, gets you a link to an exclusive Discord, or we do have a public Discord. They're the ways you can chat to us about books. At the moment, we're kind of sticking to just Storygraph with this stuff. If we get more people joining, we might put it elsewhere. But for now, it's on Storygraph where you can see all our comments.
So, shall we do like a little blurb reading of this?
Do you want to read the real blurb and then we'll give our chaotic shit summary? While
we discuss this book, we're probably going to go through spoilers. So, we'll give you a heads up when we get to that if you want to stop before you get to that. So, the blurb is, what's better than being a college dropout 20-something working as a barista in New Haven, Connecticut?
Yeah, because New Haven is where the big colleges the Gilmore Girls go to.
Oh, yeah.
That's Connecticut, isn't
it? Just about anything. Nick would give anything to escape the dead-end life he's made for himself. He gets the offer of a lifetime from Lucifer himself to trade his apron for a suit. Should he really consider becoming an agent of the devil? With the way things are going for Nick, of course he should. Lucifer wants to give Nick a chance to do what he's always wanted, to help people, wielding power and influence to make their dreams come true. He would have to sell his soul, but the devil is a gambling man and lets Nick experience his new life before he has to sign on the dotted line. Can he use the devil's power for good and make his mark on the world, or will he fall victim to his own desires and lose his humanity? Finding a balance between good and evil is about to require a lot of coffee. I really enjoyed all the coffee chat.
Yeah.
I was sad when that stopped. I was like, oh, more coffee chat, please.
I am a self-professed coffee snob, so I liked that. Lots of little nods to coffee snob life, and I was like, yeah, this is the life I live. Yeah,
where do we start with this?
It wasn't a funny one.
No, it was not. It was not funny, feel good.
And that's not the author's fault. That's maybe not our fault, or like our fault for like not realising that
Our
from the
expectations
description.
were just
Yeah.
not what it was. Yeah, it was. Yeah, dark, some of it.
Yeah. So, like, a lot of this book went into, like, good and evil, what's, like, moral ethics and, like, religion, and if there is a devil, then what else does that mean? And, you know, is doing good worth paying the price of your soul, or doing bad things in the name of good? At what point do you become a bad person? And it was, like, it was quite deep.
Yeah, and so like he gets given a project to work on, and like his first project is a man who abuses physically, and well we hear about is physically his wife and his child.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And I thought that was just going to be like a couple of chapters worth, and then he'd move on to another project. No, yeah, it's like a third of the book is around this, him trying to work out what to do about this guy. And I was like, oh wow. And then this guy's like an alcoholic and stuff. Like, there's a lot of trigger warnings, a lot of content warnings that should be on the Storygraph that aren't. No one's put any content warnings in yet, so
yeah,
we
well,
should
you're a
amend
librarian,
that.
so yeah, you should probably do that. Yeah, so sort of to give a bit more of an in-depth explanation of the plot, he's got some mates who are Satanists, and they do a ritual in a graveyard to summon Satan, and Satan doesn't appear to them. And he's just there because they're his mates, and he's just kind of like tagging along, but he's not taking part.
Yeah, he just bought the
chilling.
alcohol because he trained to be a cocktail maker at some point.
Yeah. He had a bit of a side hobby as a mixologist, I think.
Yeah, and then he realised coffee was easier to do.
So he bought absinthe and all that, so they could be all gothic-y and absinthe and all that kind of stuff.
And all he had to do was pour it onto the sugar on the spoon, but they wanted him to do it.
But then the devil appears to him and is like, hey, I see something in you. Like, you've got ambition, you want to help people, but you just don't know how to get out of the kind of the working class box you've fallen into of, like, he's doing a dead-end job, he barely makes rent, but he's, like, all sort of comfortable-ish in it. He's, like, not well off, he's skint, but he's, like, comfortable skint. As in, he's not going hungry, but he's not living the high life.
And his boss kind of low-key hates him.
Yeah. Well, he clearly doesn't care about the job, though.
Yeah.
You know, he's just kind of... We've all been there where we've got stuck in a comfortable job that's easy, and we're just kind of in stasis for a while. We've all done it. and he liked to go back to school, would cost too much, and also he hated school, but he can't really progress the way he wants to in the careers he wants to without going back to school. So he's kind of just been stuck in this kind of holding pattern. And the devil's like, I will pay you like a really good wage.
Pay for your car and your rent and all this.
Yeah, we'll get you like nice tailored suits. And then he has to do like induction training to work for the devil, which I thought was funny.
I wanted more of that, like that kind of hijinks.
Yeah, and then I really didn't get the system of the agents and how they're assigned to things. That part never felt clear to me, but he gets assigned to Lucifer's department directly, and then Lucifer gives him the assignment of watching this family. So basically, because Lucifer had made a deal with a guy who sold his soul in order to get a new community school, and part of that deal was there's a student in his class that he was concerned about, and that needed to be fixed. So that's what Lucifer assigned Nick to, was to go and, on behalf of him, like, fulfill those terms of his deal. Yeah,
there was no, like, set out on what the being fixed entailed. So that was kind of up to
Nick.
There was a lot of, like, he had to do reports and paperwork and
I know.
stuff.
And, like, it was, like, full corporate hell, but it's Lucifer.
I really feel like this would work better as, like, a sitcom or a TV show.
I mean, those comedic elements of, like, because I call it corporate hell.
Yeah.
And the irony of that being, like, the devil's office.
Yeah.
Like, that definitely could have been played into more, because these are all things about working in a corporate that I loathe.
And, like...
And that are part of corporate hell, and he's having to do them.
Like, having to have a conversation with someone he doesn't like over a coffee or something.
Yeah.
That would have been funny, like...
Trying to butter up other departments to get what he wants.
He does do a bit of that, but, like, the office actually sounded really empty as well.
Yeah.
It sounded like he was just alone in a big room, just sitting there with his clock above his head, which I never quite understood.
Yeah, so there's, like, a counter
I think I just
of,
missed
like,
what that was
your
about.
sins. No, it's your sins.
Yeah.
And, like, the
I
more
don't know
you do,
how
the more...
his was going up, like... It went up
Well, he
loads
did
when he did,
do-
like, one thing, and I was like, eh?
Yeah, I mean, he stole a sandwich.
Yeah.
So, like, I think it was just to make the point about the whole, like...
Yeah, when
At
he
what
gets
point when you're
to-
doing bad things do you become a bad person?
When he gets to, like, 1,000 or whatever it was, he had to decide if he was going to sell his soul
No,
or something like that.
what Lucifer actually said was, I've never seen anyone get past 1,000 and not end up staying.
That was it, yeah.
So it wasn't that he gets to 1,000 and has to decide.
Yeah.
It was, I've never seen someone hit that 1,000 mark and then not decide to stay.
I wasn't, and
Like,
I don't
they've
know
committed at
why
that
this
point.
counter I really struggled with it, and I wasn't sure if everyone could see it or if it just him and the devil could see it, because it was like
Yeah.
above his desk, like, and when he goes to other people to ask them for help in the office, there's no mention of, like, one above them or whatever, so I wasn't
Yeah.
sure if this was just something he could see.
Yeah. And then once he completes his first assignment, the devil's like, okay, I'm going to leave you to pick a project to work on. And you're going to get to do your altruistic thing, that the whole reason you came to me is that you're going to pick someone to help or something.
Yeah, and there was far too long deciding on that for my liking as
I mean, it is like, it's so vague. I think I would have a full-blown
Yeah.
crisis if someone was like, you could fix anything in the
Yeah.
world. And I'm like, how selfish am I if I don't pick this thing or this thing? Or,
he
like...
ends up, like, going to a priest to get some help and stuff.
Yeah, so when he's doing the first case, the mum in that family works in a soup kitchen, so that's how he gets close to her, is by volunteering in the soup kitchen.
Yeah.
And through that he kind of becomes sort of begrudgingly friends with this priest.
The priest does play a part earlier on. I actually highlighted him. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I wonder if he'll crop up again. 'Cause
Yeah,
he
obviously.
just sees Nick randomly and gives him a card, and Nick chucks it away or whatever under a bush.
Yeah.
It was very... These are some of the notes I made. It was very millennial coded how
Oh
it
my
was
God,
written. Yeah. He gets a cat, which I really love.
Oh, all the Maine Coon content.
The cat, to me, made not much sense considering he's just got, like, a new job
Yeah.
and is out of the house a lot. But okay,
But
he's got a gorgeous cat, so fair enough.
I think it's the thing of, like, go through a crisis by a cat.
Yeah.
Like,
And the cat's called Odin, which is obviously a nice little nod to gods. Right. Okay, near the beginning, page 18 to be exact, because I highlighted it. So this is right at the beginning. When they're in the cemetery or graveyard, whatever, doing their shenanigans, and he meets the devil for the first time, right?
Yeah.
So he's like, the devil says, call me Lou, L-U.
Yeah.
And he says, you don't look like a Lou, L-O-U. And the devil's like, no, it's Lou, not Lou. And I'm like, but they're pronounced the same, unless in America you pronounce them differently.
Louis?
I don't understand, because
No,
they're the
'cause-
same.
Yeah, no, Louis got IE, so...
Yeah. And why would you say, call me Lou, and then be like, you don't look like a Louis? Like, that doesn't make sense. And that whole section really pissed me off so much that I highlighted it. Because I couldn't work out in my head what the joke was.
Maybe it's an American thing, that's why we didn't get it.
And that's what I'm hoping.
Is this an American author? Yeah, it must be.
Yeah. Because he's like, no, not Lou, you know, not, yeah. And he's like, I tried to hear the difference, but I couldn't. It's because there's no difference. It's Lou and Lou. Like, look, I get it. It's Lou. It's short for
This
Lucifer.
is the nightgown thing in Fourth Wing all over again.
Oh, God. So that really annoyed me. I'm not going to lie.
It's such a specific thing.
It is a specific thing, and look how much I highlighted, because it bothered me that much. It was just because it did fall prey to the... And there's nothing wrong with this, but it did fall... That highlights a debut indie author. There's always, like, because I say this because it's exactly the same in another book I'm reading at the moment. Too much dialogue that needs to be slimmed down to make it more realistic.
Yeah.
Because in real life, people don't actually have these big bits of dialogue and don't have these kind of conversations.
Yeah.
So sometimes they can really take you out of the book, but it's understandable when it's someone that hasn't had either a lot of writing experience. You know, I'm not a writer. My books would be rife with these issues. Or someone that hasn't had access to an editor.
But even like, especially if you've watched, have you watched Lexi, aka Newly Nova? I think she did it from Blood and Ash, or is this another YouTube creator? Anyway, any YouTube creator who does a review of From Blood and Ash, the Jennifer K.Elle Almondroy series, it is indie published. It's just a very big indie series. Her book is littered with this habit of it's restating what's just been said. So like we'll have Poppy's internal narration and then she then verbally says it out loud, or something will have happened in the narrative and then they have a conversation about it, and it's like no one would have this conversation because you were both there.
Yeah.
Or like restating like your audience are idiots. Not I'm saying this author didn't do this,
No,
but like treating your audience like they're stupid. You have to do that for a certain extent because people are a bit stupid. The public.
Yeah, but when you look at like those From Blood and Ash books, they're huge and there's probably no reason for them to be that big.
Oh my god, there's entire, like, it's a lot of Poppy monologuing internally.
Yeah, so I just find when it comes to dialogue, I think that's where those issues become quite apparent. They become quite like stilted in how people talk.
This is where you need to have insane little chats to yourself where you act out the scenes. Very helpful.
Yeah, you actually do. Like, you need to, when you're in the shower, like,
have a
do
little
the
chat.
dialogue and then think, wait, am I just repeating things? Like,
Yeah.
would someone have interrupted at that point? Like...
Or you've got little cues in behaviour so you don't have to state, oh, are you mad at me? Like, you just be like, oh, he was huffing and banging things.
Yeah.
And then, like, how they respond in the dialogue, then we're not having the weird... Yeah.
This was also very much happened between... So, one of the people that's the Satanist at the beginning, the only girl, surprisingly, Amy, becomes the love interest, surprisingly. And their conversations, I feel, definitely could have done with a rewrite. Like, when they're on a date, it was just really awkward and...
And also, she believes... I know she's a Satanist, but she believes him way too quickly.
She is a manic pixie dream girl.
Yeah.
Her only... I'm not saying this book's bad, this feels like... but her only point in the entire story is to make him feel better about himself and to provide a damsel in distress for him to save later on. That is her only arc. Even how she dresses is just to... make him look at her and think, oh, she's so cute. Like, it could have done with some work on that part.
Yeah, and like, because there's so many nods in the way the character speaks, where he's like, you know, she's like, I don't want to stay the night, and he's like, fair enough, I'm not going to pressure her, I wouldn't want to do that, blah, blah, blah. Or like, wait, so he's made loads of nods to being respectful of her as a person.
Yeah.
And like loads of like sort of ally man statements. But then she's not a fully fleshed out female character.
No. So she's
She's
there
a plot
to make
driver.
him feel and look like a good guy.
Yeah.
And it should be more show, not tell. That is an issue that a lot of debut authors fall in under.
It's really hard.
And it is hard. I'm not saying I could do it. I'm not a writer, and I probably never will be in a fictional sense. I mean, obviously I write blog posts and stuff.
Yeah.
And I know that I would probably fall under this as well. But show that he's a good guy. Don't tell us with his monologue saying, I'm a good guy because I'm not going to force her to have sex with me. No.
or her when he's having a sort of crisis, because the whole crisis is he has to start doing sort of increasingly bad things to achieve a good ends, and that's meant to be the sort of the conversation we're having in this book is, you know, does the end justify the means, morals, ethics, that kind of thing. And it's a lot of him sort of going to her like, I'm having to do bad things, but I saved a child, so surely it cancels itself out. And like, she's there to be like...
She's just a sounding board.
Yeah. We could have showed him doing a lot more good things. Especially with, like, there's the whole thing of... One of the reasons Nick picks him, quote marks, is that even though he hates his barista job... Not Nick picks him, sorry, Lou picks Nick. even though he hates his barista job, what the thing about his job that he loves is helping people and interacting with people and making their day and giving them a good coffee, and like he takes pride in that, and he is a very altruistic person. But Lucifer has this theory that Nick's life just hasn't given him the opportunities to act on that. And we could have done so much more, but that bit of it, of the acts of service kind of side of him, there's like, I'm a good person, I like to make people feel good. The acts of service part maybe could have been done a bit more to show the good personness.
Yeah.
Because he does stuff like he goes to the soup kitchen. Like, why don't we make him volunteer there more?
Yeah, and it's like, because I thought he was going to carry on going. I thought that was going to be like a big part of his arc, and I thought like, because he was going to the soup kitchen, he was going to spend more time with someone who believes in God, and that was going to make him like question some things a little bit more. Another thing about, what's her name? Amy, at the end. So this is a spoiler now. So if you don't want to be spoiled, I would click off now. At the end, she gets kidnapped by
one of the other Satanists.
Yeah, what was his name? I can't remember. Rob, yeah. So Rob is one of the other Satanists. He's very much...
got a bit more fanatical.
If you picture a really gross, sweaty metalhead, that is what he's meant to be.
Very fanatical about it.
Yeah, and so he figures out somehow... very early on that Nick's working for the devil. I would say the explanation of how he figured it out is very loose. And then he does like some stuff to try and get the devil to come to him, and then in the end he ends up kidnapping Amy to try and get Nick to come, which he thinks will force the devil, which actually does work out. But he has her tied up in some pipes in like a mausoleum. Yeah. And then Nick goes there to save her. She ends up undoing her own ropes.
She saves herself. Yeah.
Which, okay. But then, rather than be like concerned that she's been held there for like 3 days or whatever and apparently got chloroform, it's not how chloroform works, but sure, they go through some tunnels to get out, and she starts talking about the history of the mausoleum and the tunnels, and I'm like, babe, you've literally been tied up for like 3 days, shitting in a bucket, and she's
the most
and apparently you're just gonna
ever
go through like the history of the tunnels. Like, this is what I mean, just a little bit about like, she didn't have much personality.
I think that was
what she was meant to do for the story.
I think that was the attempt to give her personality, though. It was like, oh, she's a little history nerd.
Yeah.
And it's part of her. She's a librarian. She loves learning about history, and that's her degree. Her master's is in history or something.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
So I think that was the attempt to do that. But
I don't know. For me, it didn't quite land.
Maybe one of their conversations in the cafe should have been her nerding about the history of the town they live in.
Exactly.
And then later when she's rescued, he's like, wait, the tunnels you told me about.
Yeah.
Something like that. Or like she leads him, he's like, oh, fuck the tunnels. Like, you told me about this. That maybe would have been the right way to go about that.
Yeah.
Not like
the foreshadowing rather than just the...
Yeah.
Yeah. I think like the end climax of Rob kidnapping Amy and stuff, I think, because this is going to be a series, there's at least 3 books. I think that possibly could have been a storyline in a further book. Like, Rob could have been like a brooding presence for a few books.
I know, but I think the point of Rob doing that in this book is it serves as a catalyst of like, at that point, Nick does a lot of bad shit and doesn't care. About the morals and ethics of it.
And that's when he like says to Lucifer, you can have my soul or whatever.
Yeah, that's what pushes it again, and I think it's about forcing that conversation of at what point does the end justify the means kind of thing. Because so far he's been riddled with guilt about all the things he's done to like for the first deal he was allowed to do, and technically Rob counts as his second deal.
Yeah, can we also agree that all of the bad things he's done are not bad?
They're not that bad.
At all.
No.
Like...
But...
I'm sorry, do you live in a real human world? Or, like, you're feeling really bad because you stole a sandwich from an alcoholic? Calm down. Like...
Yeah, I think it's probably that the sin counter doesn't help.
Yeah.
Because he's like, maybe that was more bad than I thought. My bad.
Literally. My bad.
So I think the point of Rob at that point is to push him across the line. Of being like, he's like, oh, there's all these lines I won't cross, and as soon as Amy is in danger, he's like, well, now I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, yeah.
But then he still tries to do it in a way that doesn't hurt anyone or doesn't even hurt Rob. So, I don't know. The fact he then gets kidnapped afterwards and we get like a double, maybe wasn't completely necessary. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah, it was a bit like stop-starty at the end. I think the issue is there was too many ideas, and a lot of them were good ideas, but they didn't all fit in one book. I think that's the issue.
I think the conversation it was trying to have was really interesting.
Yeah, I was
it was a clever way to go about it.
I was reading this we were on our way for a holiday, and I was reading this in a car, and I was asking my partner questions like, would you sell your soul if this and that? And like we were having proper conversations about it. It really made us made me talk about these things.
Yeah.
I will read at least the next book.
I think so too.
I think, as I said, often like from what I've noticed with authors, the more you write, the more these things kind of iron themselves out. So I would definitely look forward to reading the next book.
And they're quite short as well.
Yeah, it's like 300 and something pages. Yeah, and when it hit, it was good. It was enjoyable. Oh
my god, there were so many good things in this book. There were just like maybe some slight tweaks.
Yeah. I think just a little bit on the pacing and a little bit on the dialogue would have really helped. But enjoyable wise, it was good. Once I got over the fact that it wasn't a funny book.
Yeah, I think
that was my bad.
I think that's why, because we're doing this one a bit late, because my bad, I didn't read it in time, even though I had 2 fucking months. And the time I picked it up, I was like, because I picked it up really early. I was like, I'm going to be a good girl. I'm going to read this so early. And then I didn't finish it. It's because I was like in the mood for a funny book. And I was like, oh, this is not a funny haha.
No.
This is like satirical funny or like dark humour. Like, but not haha, silly, goofy, fun times when my boss is the devil.
Yeah, I was just expecting like corporate hijinks where the boss is the devil. I don't know. Maybe I've watched too many TikTok skits.
Yeah. What is it? The ginger girl who does the bell, the demons, the help desk.
Oh yes, yeah.
She's writing a book,
Is she?
with those characters.
They all end up doing that. That's how we got
I hope it'll be good.
Assistant to the villain book, because that was based on TikTok skits.
Really? I didn't know that.
Apparently the book's terrible. It's just her skits, like, tried to put
I've got it, it's on Everand, so I've got it pinned in my wish list, because it's not super long.
When I say terrible, obviously I've not read it, but apparently, like, apart from, you can tell she didn't actually have a storyline apart from the skits. So
Yeah.
But yeah, so in terms of like the world building, I think it was.
What have you got?
What is that? What is that? Is that like little soil and stones that have fallen from your?
That is
cacti?
an entire plant that got knocked over.
Oh, okay. But not by me.
Not by you. You're fine. And I was like, I can't remember when it happened.
That's the future.
But I just remember being like, fuck that.
Yeah.
You can fucking die. Like,
yeah, okay, fair
I've had 2 plants go over lately. I've literally got a cactus on the floor.
Yeah,
down
that's
there.
where it stays to die now.
I
That's
know. I'm
its
gonna sort it out eventually. I just couldn't be fucked at the time.
So
I've had a busy couple of weeks, and I was like, you know what? The cats don't go under there anymore.
Yeah.
That's officially not my problem.
So the world building, I thought, was quite good actually, because it didn't have to change. It wasn't like a full new world like in most fantasies that we read.
We're not trying to. He's not trying to impose any new facts about the devil or religions. He's not trying to say one religion is right in this as well. Like, we're not sort of doing he's not saying like, well, this devil is the Christian idea of a devil, so therefore the Christians are right. This book doesn't do that.
No.
He makes it very clear that he's appearing to Nick as the traditional idea of a devil because Nick was raised Catholic, I believe.
Yeah.
So he's like, that's how I'm appearing to you because that's what you know. He's like, I can appear to you as one or the other. Every religion
and he does
has
briefly change into like a woman, I think, or something.
Yeah, every religion has kind of one version or other of consequences for your actions.
Yeah, I mean, don't come at me, religious peeps, but it's all basically the same. You're all arguing over nothing. So, I
think to do the non-confrontational version of that, all religions seek to answer some fundamental questions about our purpose in life, life after death, like the things that humans, like the fundamental things that people at their core are scared about. I think most religions were stories we told ourselves to make ourselves feel better. Like that thing on Game of Thrones when I can't remember any characters' names. The one who burns his little girl in the fire. His mate, the nice man, Did you? I don't know how much Game of Thrones you watched.
I'm just staring at you like, what?
Anyway, he says to someone once, I think the gods are stories we tell our children so they can sleep at night.
Yeah.
And I kind of, because neither of us are religious, by the way, and we're sorry if you find this offensive. We're not saying anything wrong with being religious. We just haven't been brought up that way. It's just not us. And
I'm not sorry if you find it offensive. Like, grow a backbone. Not
no,
everyone has to believe the same stuff.
I'm just saying we're not saying you're wrong for believing these things. Trying to
be offended. No, God.
I'm trying to do the neutral path of like, you're not wrong for believing these things. We just don't.
Yeah.
So that's what I kind of think that's the kind of thing he's trying to do with this book. Is to say that no one's wrong or right. I'm just the story people tell themselves for the consequences for bad actions.
Yeah.
He's like, I could be any of them. So I did like that bit.
Yeah. I liked that it didn't... It had all these questions about morality and stuff without going into any, it wasn't... And none of it was based around religion. It was all based on your internal morality.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate, because often...
I don't need an imaginary man in the sky to make me be a good or bad person.
I come across like threads or whatever of people being like, if you don't believe in God, what's to stop you killing people? And it's like, do you only not kill people
makes me feel
because
bad.
Is the only reason you're not killing people because you believe in a God? Like, that's more a question that you should be asking, you know.
Yeah, it's the only thing stopping you from, like, stealing, killing, raping.
It's because you're hoping for something when you die.
Yeah. And it's also the history of how that was used to control the peasantry, to make them have miserable lives in toil, just so they might have a happy life after death.
Yeah. Funny how this is still very
and pay
prevalent.
massive tithes to the church.
Yeah.
And this is English history, again.
So yeah, I did think his version of the devil was very entertaining. I was very aware that if this book had been written by a woman, I think the devil would have been a lot sexier.
Yeah.
Which it was missing for me. No, but obviously I'm joking, but also it would have been sexy.
It was post-supernatural, like the supernatural devil. That's what I was kind of in my head was picturing here, was the supernatural devil. Maybe even the one that's in Lucifer, the TV series.
Yes, because that is.
But the supernatural devil is not sexy.
No.
He's just like a baddie. But he's a bad guy in the series, but he's like, I'm just a,
just a standard guy.
I'm just a guy.
Just a guy.
Just a guy had a row with his dad, got kicked out, and now I'm in charge of hell. Like,
I always find it funny that, like, the devil in, like, modern media tends to almost be, like, based on finance bros.
Yeah.
And nothing is more apt than that.
Just been like, oh, I'll take your soul, but it's just business, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just business.
Just business, isn't it?
It's good business.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the fact that so much of this was done, like, with paperwork. And there was, like, a tablet that people signed over and really, like, pulled out a stack of paperwork for people to read. And...
No, because they do make comments about, oh, you're doing it old school.
Yeah.
So, like, maybe there are other options, but Nick doesn't choose
like,
them.
I really enjoy, like...
A good old-fashioned handshake.
Yeah, and a handshake. And, yeah, I think we've gone through the characters. What else do we normally try and discuss? Characters.
Where's my little notebook?
The
full of
world
scribbled shit
building.
notes. Oh, it's buried.
Yeah.
We usually do
bit
themes,
themes,
world building, plot, characters,
without even
overall thoughts. We actually were fairly
actually
focused.
passed everything. Yeah. We were quite good with, like, quite concise.
It wasn't as rambly as we usually do.
No.
So that might even speak to the quality of this book.
Especially considering, like, full disclosure, before we started recording, we were both like, I don't think I've got much to say about this book. And actually, it turns out we did.
Because it was like, we both were like...
I didn't dislike
I enjoyed
it. Yeah.
But it's not what I was expecting. It's maybe not quite what we're in the mood. It's definitely not something we either of us naturally gravitate towards, for sure.
No.
And because, obviously we're spending time on reading these books, we tend to pick books purely in the lane of what we enjoy, and this book was a bit outside of that.
I do think perhaps if this wasn't a buddy read, I might have put it down and been like, oh no, I'm not going to read this. It's not like fantasy fun enough. So I'm pleased that there was a reason I kept reading it.
Me
Because
too.
actually I will read the next book at least.
Yeah.
Which is out. The second book's out. The third book's coming out soon, I think. October, actually, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know how far this book has got in the competition. People started picking their semi-finalists. I don't think I've seen this one be picked, but it's only 10 semi-finalists out of 300, so, you know, that's a lot.
The odds are not in your favour.
But yeah, I would, if this sounds like something you'd enjoy and you don't mind that we've obviously gone through a lot of the kind of spoilers, I would recommend picking it up.
I think we've left a lot of like the details.
Yeah, we've not gone. I mean, there's a lot of cat stuff which we could talk about. The cat was brilliant.
I just liked all the stuff of like I pulled Odin off of my face.
Yeah, Odin's just like all over his face when he wakes up in the morning. Yeah. When he's feeling a bit stressy, depressy, he's like laying around and Odin's like, "Feed me." Yeah, I liked all those kind of nods.
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
I just think that's kind of everything I've got to say about this
kind
book.
of like, you know, there wasn't much to hate about it. There wasn't much for me personally to love about it. It was just a steady book, which is a good place to be, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously we sometimes like trash as well. So.
Yeah.
It doesn't always have to be good writing.
That's
for us
where
to
this
enjoy
falls
it.
apart, because it wasn't trash.
Yeah, no, we were looking for trash. If this had been a silly romance where Nick and Lucifer got together and Lucy was a bit sexy.
A little bit cheeky.
You're being cheeky.
Oh dear.
A little bit more angst in that direction. No.
Give us more. No, it was enjoyable. I would say pick it up if it sounds like something that you'd enjoy. Yeah.
It's on Kindle Unlimited, so if you've got that, it's for free.
Yeah, and make sure to check out our current buddy read if you're interested, which again was Sugar Spice,
Pumpkin Spice and Poltergeist.
Yeah, that's the one. On K.Elle, if you have K.elle in the UK at least, probably everywhere. And we will discuss it in like November probably. This is
our September to October read.
Yeah, so we'll discuss it in November. So come join us on the buddy read on Storygraph or join our Ko-fi. Links are all below in the description. Also consider liking, following, rating, subscribing, whatever you can do wherever you listen to the podcast. I know it's different depending on the platforms. We'd really appreciate that. It would help us reach new listeners.
Yeah.
And we will speak to you next week. Bye.
Bye.